Hey sports fans, we're back, and this time we're here to talk about some of the greatest players in Clemson football history. A program that went from relative obscurity, winning just one title in their first 90 years, into a perennial powerhouse during the Dabo Swinney era, coming home with 2 national titles over the last 5 years. Although Clemson always hasn't been as good as we've seen of late, Clemson has a tradition of producing blue-chip athletes who have been dominant at the collegiate level. Today we're going to take a look at some of them and let you know who the best of Clemson's best are. But before we get into that, do me a favor and click that subscribe button. All done? Alright, let's go. When your nickname is Nuke, that means your game is explosive and you're probably as deadly as they come on the gridiron. Well, the moniker holds true and then some for the former Clemson wideout DeAndre Hopkins, who has a knack for detonating a defensive back or two and blowing up defensive coordinators' game plans to stop him. A route-running technician with the savvy to get open routinely, Hopkins was a nightmare on the football field during his time at Clemson. By the time he left high school, he held a receiving yards and receiving touchdown record and set a single-season record of an insane 18 touchdowns during his final year. DeAndre was a refined wide receiver during his years at Clemson, but went from a solid prospect to one that helped lead the way for Clemson, featuring quarterback Tajh Boyd to form one of the most prolific offenses in Clemson history. When Hopkins left the program, he had the record for receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. All the praise he was receiving from the media was warranted, and he was rewarded with first-team All-ACC honors. As far as the all-time Clemson list, it wouldn't be a list without Hopkins on it. C.J. Spiller was Travis Etienne before Travis Etienne, a ridiculous speedster with all-purpose appeal, torching teams by ground, air, and special teams. Spiller was a big play monster with unmatchable burst whenever he touched the ball. Spiller in space looked like a video game cheat code, and the only thing keeping him from being higher on this list was his usage. Had he had gotten the rock more, he may have been higher on this list, but his potency on the amount of touches he had is enough to make him an all-time Clemson great. Next on the list is another receiver that checks all the boxes of an all-time great and played alongside DeAndre Hopkins in the prolific offense we talked about earlier, quarterbacked by Tajh Boyd. Sammy Watkins ranked higher on this list because his impact was instantaneous and just placed him in rare company for any program or conference. To put things in perspective, as a true freshman, Sammy broke 11 school records just after 7 games. 7. One of the records was the all-purpose yards mark held by the last player on the list, C.J. Spiller. His 82 passes for 1,219 yards and 12 touchdowns during his 18-year-old season made him just the 4th ever true freshman to be an AP first-team All-American. Although his production dropped off a bit in the sophomore season, he went ballistic during his junior season and ended up breaking the school's receptions record. Christian Wilkins may not have been a stat stuffer like the other guys on the list, but the defensive tackle was as dominant as they come when it comes to stuffing runs and harassing quarterbacks. You see, the thing about stats that just doesn't get accounted for is just how much of a terror you could be to block for an offensive lineman. Wilkins was a large man that caused a mountain of problems for defenses, which opened up things for other guys on defense to stuff their stats, but a lot of times it was Wilkins, the 2-time All-American and 2-time national champion, that they feared. A Bronco Nagurski Trophy finalist was as big of a problem as they come at the position and would start on just about any college team you could name. Another guy on the defensive end of the ball who was also as dominant as they come was William Perry, but you definitely know him for his moniker. Named the Refrigerator during his freshman year at Clemson after a fellow player could barely squeeze into an elevator with him, William Perry was a man amongst boys at the collegiate level, and his size to strength combo almost wasn't fair. Athletic for his size, which ranged anywhere from 330 to 350 pounds, Perry was a one-man wrecking crew and the anchor of his undefeated national title team as a freshman. The first 3-time All-American in Clemson's history, William the Refrigerator Perry was really larger than life. As a defensive tackle, he amassed 25 sacks, which is ridiculous for his position. There aren't many defensive tackles that produce the statistics that Perry did. Matched with the impact he had on any offense he faced, the Refrigerator is hands down the best player to ever don a Clemson uniform. When you come into the national stage the way Trevor Lawrence did as a true freshman, you will always be regarded as a legend, and the 5-star recruit from Georgia didn't disappoint. Coming out of high school, some regarded Lawrence as one of the best college prospects ever, and from the word go, the true freshman proved everyone right by performing extremely well among top-level competition, almost as if he had been playing college for the last 4 years and not high school football. Trevor's undefeated freshman season and national title victory placed him in the rarefied air of college athletes, and for an encore his sophomore year, he took the Tigers back to the national title game but received his first loss as a college athlete. Even in defeat, Lawrence still had anyone who followed college football in awe at how quickly he became a complete quarterback, even adding scrambling ability, which he didn't show enough during his freshman season. Although in his third season he wasn't able to reach the title game, Lawrence, behind a banged-up offensive line, still reached the semifinals, and while some saw it as a disappointing season, that just shows how high the bar has been raised for Lawrence and is a testament to the legacy he left behind at Clemson. The bias is the only thing keeping Lawrence from being number one. Although he became a better player each year after his freshman season, his success paradoxically got worse. From national champion to losing the national title to losing the college semifinal. That being said, the dude only lost twice, and had there been more talent around him in his final year, he may have ridden off into the sunset with 3 consecutive national title appearances. Travis Etienne is Clemson's all-time rushing leader and hands down the best ball carrier to ever wear a Clemson jersey. In his 4 years at Clemson, he rewrote the record books, and had he turned pro after his junior year, he would have been hands down the first running back off the board. He stayed one more year after the sour taste the national title defeat left in his mouth, only to leave bad tastes in the mouths of every defense he faced. Staying an extra year allowed him to crush all of Clemson running back records and put himself in his own tier of Clemson backs. A tackle-breaking machine with the acceleration and long speed to take any play the distance, Etienne sharpened his game even more during his final season, proving to be a very capable pass catcher and a benefit to Trevor Lawrence. If you think Deshaun Watson became one of the elite NFL quarterbacks by accident, you have to remember just what he was under Clemson coach Dabo Swinney. Deshaun was a force during his time at Clemson and about as threatening as a dual-threat quarterback as they come, tossing a ridiculous 90 touchdowns and rushing for another 26. His arm talent was as good as anyone's ever put on the Clemson uniform, and his 2 trips to the national title game and his national title victory the second time around, with a memorable 14-point comeback win over Alabama and their ferocious defense, will forever solidify him as not only a Clemson all-time great, but one of the college all-time greats. Deshaun had several comebacks in college, solidifying the fact that he had ice in his veins and that no moment was too big for him. But being able to do it against Alabama on the biggest stage shot his popularity out of the stratosphere. His 2 best seasons just happened to be the 2 best seasons in school history, and for this reason, coupled with the impact of his winning culture among Clemson quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson ranks at the top of this list. Alright, sports fans, that does it for our time on Clemson's football team and the best players throughout its history. Let us know what you think about this list by dropping a comment below. Did we get it right? Surprised by Deshaun Watson over Trevor Lawrence? Let us know. And as always, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor and click that subscribe button so you can get more content just like this as soon as it drops. Until next time, sports fans.